Yuri. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Women in Business event. So we have a very diverse panel today, comprising 4 successful lady entrepreneurs and proud alumni and leaders from various industries, actually. And the format of this evening session would be a panel discussion whereby I'll be posing a couple of questions, and towards the end, we'll open to the floor for any questions anyone has. So please allow me to introduce Ms. Jean Teo, Chief Operating Officer at China Aviation Oil, Ms. Maria Boey, President, Institute of Parks and Recreation Singapore, Dr. VicPearly Wong, Director at Orange Orthodontics, and Ms. Jaslin Lau, Managing Partner at Advenz. So to kick off the discussion session today, perhaps you can tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you chose to take the path that you did. Jean, would you like to begin?
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to meet you. I think I have fond memories of here and not so fond memories of, but well, this is a new location because when I did my MBA, we were still in the One Phillip Street, right? Yeah. And Dean was my classmate, so you know how long. Please don't reveal our age. It's okay, it's when we did our MBA, not our age. Yeah. So my first degree was actually NUS, Chemical Engineering. I didn't know what was, so obviously I went into the oil industry. Most of my career was with BP, or commonly used to be known as British Petroleum. So it was quite a good company. I did various jobs, but most of my career was in supply and trading. So I was a trader, and it's quite a very male-dominated industry. And when I started my career, I was a management trainee. I didn't know anything about trading because I think these days all the university graduates or undergraduates want to be traders. But in those days, the investment bankers, there are very few investment banks, and most of the jobs are for overseas graduates, or like there are very few local graduates who go into investment banks. And the oil industry was not as developed as it is now, so there were not many opportunities for trading. But I was lucky and I became a trader. And currently I'm in China Aviation Oil. If you've ever flown to China, especially in Beijing or Shanghai, the plane that you sat in is actually one of the fuel that's supplied by us. Yeah, so it's very safe, don't worry. Okay.
I'm Maria Boey. I'm actually from Malaysia, Butterbat, Johor. And I always remember and ask myself, why did I become an architect? Because architecture is like 6 years course if you go for the RIBA, which is a British train. And people say, "Ayo, you should be doctor instead of architect." But you know, it's a love for something that is a vision. Then I asked myself, how did I end up as being an architect? Because I realized that when I was a child, I played with toys. Besides that, I built houses. And you know, usually last time you don't really have those Lego sets, but I did have. I have the Western one with green flooring and red bricks, you know, bay windows. So these are British toys. And you make your own house. Of course, you also play masa-masa, you know. Then, when I grew up, I met 2 persons from my hometown. A small town, but they produced 2 great architects. And one of them is a President Award winner, Teng Guan Lee. And another one is Goh Hap Chok, which happened to be my sister's classmate. So I learned from them something about architecture. At the same time, you look at papers and you admire buildings. And even though the town is small, my Cantonese association is very beautiful. So I said, oh, I like to do something like that in big, grand buildings. So that's how I became an architect. But it was not an easy journey because when I came, Butterfly is very close to Singapore. And when I studied architecture, the teachers were actually quite lousy. They make you study by the books that is so thick, and then they ask you to write about Egypt, how the pyramid was built, and things like that. So it was very far from what we thought that we should imagine and what we want to build. But nevertheless, it was 4 years of problem in the sense that it's not a problem to me, but it's a problem to my classmates. Some of them were totally unprepared. So my advice to parents, you know, especially a lot of people say, my child like to be an architect. So first thing they must ask themselves, is it an arts or science course? But actually it's more social and arts course. And it's not so much mathematics because we are very clear. engineering must be engineers do it. Because if not, if we do their work, then they are out of job. So no, it's just a joke. I have to make you all laugh, you know. So actually, a lot of people thought it is very much mathematics. Actually, to assure you, it's very, very interesting. And we work like no nights, no day, and we'll still work on it. But my batch was very problematic in the sense that they were a bit socialists and activists. So my journey through that was difficult. At the 4th year, I have to go to work so that I can avoid my friends, you know. If not, my parents thought, oh, I'd be also deported. That was a year of Tan Hua Piao and Aviation. But never mind, those are the days. I told her, as Malaysian, you cannot go into politics. But you see, they're so passionate about social, and they went into that. Anyway, I graduated the 4th year. Then I went, because Go Hap Cho is from HDB. So every holiday I work, because that's where I learn from different masters, design partnership and things like that. So I go to HDB and that's where she works, and the first thing she gives me is the annual report. And because I cannot do social work when I was a student, I thought I contribute to society. Furthermore, when I grew up, I was a community leader in my hometown, and my parents were working in the association, writing letters for old people to send back to China. So I worked into HDB, and I really enjoyed my life, because that's where I built 2 towns, Tampines and Pasir Ris. And then, first I'm an architect. Then I went to Manchester for urban design. Then 1992, when the World Habitat Award was given to Tampines, I just went into the School of Landscape. So I really enjoyed learning and working. So I concentrate on landscape, but I'm still a registered architect, and I can still plan any town in the world, because with the experience in HDB, and even as the architect in HDB, the basic thing is that all units must be well ventilated. A lot of private sector do not have good ventilation, I must tell you. So when you look for houses, please don't think about drying clothes in the dryer, because some of them don't even have clothes hanging area. So just watch out for this, because there are people who say, oh, good price, so much area. And one of my friends, she booked a place in Penang. You know how much space circulation? The whole outside was all corridors, you know. So it's useless, and worse than ever. Do you know your bank has got mechanical ventilation, one of the toilets inside, when there's so much open space? So I just want to teach you all, when you look for a flat, make sure you don't have mechanical ventilation, because your bill will go up. Tips.
Thank you. I think I'm going to call off one of my advice. Sorry guys, I'm going to go. Hi everyone, I'm VicPearly. I'm an orthodontist by training, and I think one of the only dentists that's done an MBA here. I know. Well, yeah, I graduated from a bachelor degree in dentistry in National University of Singapore. And why I chose dentistry, honestly, I didn't. Dentistry chose me, because I had like law, medicine, and everything. But the timing with different universities around the world is that Singapore University starts first, and then the UK, and then the US. So I thought, okay, just try. And I loved it, like I really loved it. And like with what Maria said, you really have to be a passion for your job. I didn't enjoy dental school, but I enjoyed dentistry. And then after that, I did my master's in orthodontics, which I loved as well. So my venture into business is actually, there's a lot of push factors actually. The inertia is always there for you to start anything. So the push factor was the birth of my daughter, and basically at that time, there was not much family life balance, work-life balance thing. So there was no such thing called part-time career or anything. So in a way, either I had to get out or stay. So I got out and started my own business. So I run an orthodontic practice and 3 other clinics. And then I started my medical and dental supply company and investment company as well, just to get the entire value chain. That's what I've been taught, right? Yep, so that's a short summary of what I'm doing. So still currently doing it and still very passionate.
Hi everyone, I'm
Jaslin, and I'm currently running my consulting business, and has been for about 4 years. So graduated with an ACCA accounting professions, and then only in 2006 that I decided to pursue my MBA in Manchester Business School, and that was also when it was located at Phillip Street. And Vic was just saying that the push factor for her to start on her own was her daughter, but mine was just the opposite. I decided to come out on my own, partly because my 2 boys have been grown up. Okay? They are currently aged 17 and 20, so 4 years back when I was starting on my own, they were just about 13 and 16. And not really push factor, but I must say that at that point, after having about 20 odd years in corporate life, supporting my CFO, group CFO and group CEO in financial reporting, compliance and all that, I think I got a little bit tired, and day in, day out is always reporting deadlines. So my husband was actually seriously wanting me to think about what I would like to do, something that I would enjoy doing, not just for a good short term of 5 years, but maybe something that can last me for even 20 years, 25 years, or even to a semi-retirement where I can still be able to provide consulting advisory services. So that was when back in 2004, I decided to really came out from the comfort zone and started Advenz Private Limited. And the reason why I say I decided to make a bold step, partly because I must say, if you talk about work-life balance, how my values and my husband's values are the same. We always feel that when our children are young, during their 5 to 10 years old, these are really the golden years that we should be spending a lot of quality time and bonding with them. So I must say that we have really done our part in terms of really spending a lot of family bonding time, reading storybooks to them when they were young, and the common thing that every parent does is actually chauffeuring them to tuitions and all that. But of course, that's not really the good thing, but I mean the conscious effort of making a point for family trips at the end of the year and stuff like that. So since they are really, teenage and able to be very much independent, so that is why I feel that I should start thinking about what I should be doing and something that I enjoy doing. So starting on my own actually is not much of a difference from what I used to be doing, because it still involves financial reporting, compliance, and it is just that instead of servicing or supporting my boss, I am actually servicing or assisting my clients in all aspects of their business, and mainly SME related. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So our speakers tend to emphasize the importance of having a passion for what they do and being able to step out of their comfort zone. So now actually what we'd like to understand better is, what do you think are the most important traits or guiding principles to become a successful entrepreneur leader? Maybe Jaslin, you would like to start?
Okay, being in the accounting professions, I think my guiding principle would be a few. First is being professionals and ethical, and then as well as to be honest and a trustworthy persons. And because I think being in the service industry, I think, and it is rather a small world, so in the manner of how you deliver your service, how you handle your clients, actually speaks a lot about you as an individual, as an advisor to your clients or to your prospects. So I feel that regardless, especially in our trade, sometimes the challenge that we face is that when we meet up with clients has their own way of wanting certain, okay, I'm in a finance, so please bear with me a little bit about, when I talk about wanting certain expenses to be treated in a sense, put it bluntly, window dressing or whatever. So they are your clients. You cannot make them unhappy, but yet you need to be very professional enough to know how to convince them that what should then be the right approach. So that is where professionalism and being firm, but yet in a very professional way comes in. So I will always bear that in mind, and even not just for myself, but even for my team members who are supporting me, I will always tell them the same thing. So regardless of how sometimes upset we could be with some not so reasonable clients, we still have to, to maintain our cool and still try to talk to them in a very professional manner.
I agree with Jaslin to a certain extent that being the guiding principles of business, leadership, everything is the same guiding principle as being a good person. Integrity, honesty, keeping your word, being on time, just being a good person. Of course, other things, other traits that will be useful would be you may have to forget the idea, the traditional idea of success, but define it on your own. What do you consider success to yourself? Like time, money, or whatever it is. As long as you know what you want, then you pursue it in the same way that you would want to live your life. And of course, the other thing is you have to remove the vulnerability to security. Like, you know that the moment you step out of your comfort zone, you're going to be vulnerable. Can you take that as an appetite? I think that some people have, some people don't have it. And the first thing you need to do, I think, is to know yourself. Yeah.
Architecture is not just about profession. We have to accept that as a requirement. It's about fun. I'm not talking about fun in being funny, but creative. Creative, you know. Because I was so lucky that I worked in HDB. In fact, I was never an entrepreneur, and I asked myself, if I'm an entrepreneur, what do I do? But working in HDB gives you the sort of like, oh, you're creating environment for the people. And that's the first thing I realized. And I want to create good environment. So I think of my childhood days, because I live around fruit trees, a stream at the back with fishes, things like that, the whole total environment. So I came up with a lot of ideas. In fact, in Tampines, I created a new model, which is a structure model based on town center, neighborhood center, green linkages. NParks has a park connector, but I have green linkage. And every year I go back to Tampines to look at the town. Of course, now they have a big building called the Tampines Hub, which is an integrated project. And throughout the whole architecture, I'm looking at what are the things for us. And going to Manchester, that's where I learned a lot of things. First thing is when you go to England, which most of you have, you see old people, correct? So you think of the old. Then you see people with pram, then you think of the children, the family, then you think of the handicap. So I think about all this, you know, and it is really enriching for me. And I know that when I do something for the people in public housing, the first thing I think was the ramp. And that was before the bylaw came about. So I did it without my boss knowing, because why? If I tell him, I'm going to do ramp everywhere, then he said, who asked you to do that? You know? So it's best that when you do something that you think is right, you do it. This is important, because you know that you're building the thing. Then when I built Tampines, it was the planning. The CE draw the road, but actually it's architect who draw the road. Actually, I'm also a planner, so I draw the roads. Then I tell the civil engineer, because my civil engineer, they're very nice. I said, hey, let me decide all the bus stop, you know, because I want people to go, stop there, go home. So I did that. So I did a lot of things that I can work with my civil engineer. Then I said, in England, you see the water and the land is so close. So I go to the Ministry of Environment with the sea and say, hey, I want something like that, you know. I go to England, you see the land and the water so close. Then he said, oh, your drain is Tampines. I don't know how many of you live in Tampines. You channel. Then he said, oh, I give a trapezoidal. I thought, oh, look nice. But it became bigger, correct? Because the water is so little and the space is so wide. But what I did next was that I have this idea about creating natural rivers. Again, England, you know, they're so natural. So I don't know if you all know Pasir Ris, Sungai Api-Api. And that was the water body. But you see, one thing that happens to me, and I'm very lucky, is that you have to be at the right place, the right time, and the philosophy. It so happened the government, by that time, Liu Taiker was my good friend. He was a CEO, but he practiced as an architect. So he also started this water body as a chairman. Then we worked with URA, and they also have the same mind. But the Ministry of Environment didn't really have the same mind, so we got to educate them. But then they realized, yes, we will dig into the river to create a natural river. So those who have been to Pasir Ris, there's only one stretch that looked like a river. And then you bring back the NParks brought the mangrove, and the kingfisher came back, the growth, and now the mangroves that's tall at the 12-story. At that time I was a landscape architect, I did coastal planting. So my work is very different, you know. I have to use my creativity, and I'm so glad that I grew up in a small place whereby you know what it's like a community. But you know, HDB again is public housing. In the end, whatever you do, the environment is important, but the people getting together is important. So now my aim is going back to do more things for the community. Like I think of corridor planting to think of food security. So I'm very active in the community now, and community garden. So if anybody needs help in the community garden, I will be able to help you. So I offer this to our alumni. And if you want to go there, please, I'll take you all there. Now it's a cycling town. So you see, things you must move your things and you go back and regenerate it. So my life and the thread of architect, planner, and landscape architect is very different. And we are planting native plants as well.
Well, so I think I should qualify. Unlike the others, I actually absolutely hated my undergraduate course. Well, I chose engineering because it was practical. I wanted a professional degree. And then I was actually in Boko for 6 months during my internship. And then it's like you're stuck in the island, and food is very important to me. So after the 6 months, I was like, okay, I don't be a chemical engineer. So for those of you who didn't like your course of work or course of studies, you know, it's not too late to change. So I chose BP because it was a management training program. I wanted to be a generalist. So I always tell people, I guess you have to know yourself. You want to be in a big company, MNCs, or you like to be in a small company. The good thing about big companies is they are training, they have money, they have resource, they are willing to send you for such things. But you do a very specialized part of a business. But in a small company, you get to do many things. So I guess a lot of natural progression tends to people go to bigger companies, which is like what I did. And then when you are more senior, you go to a smaller company. So China Aviation was a lot smaller. So because when I was a trader in BP, I was actually doing very, you just trade, right? You don't have to do anything, just trade. When I was actually in China Aviation, I think some of you who knew the history, they had some losses, and then BP is an investor, is a shareholder of, was one of the White Knight, so they invested in China Aviation. When you started, starting the trading process for the company again, you have to, even worry about balances, credit, and all those things in the big company. You don't have to, I'm sure the entrepreneurs, they realize that when you are entrepreneurs, you have to learn from scratch. And I think to me, that's also the fun that you get to do everything and make decisions. Like in BP, decisions come from London. You have certain, even let's say in a very senior level in Singapore, you get a lot of decisions you can't make, but in the small companies, you can make that. But I think my advice to the younger people are also, it's not just how good your work is, sometimes you have to know how to ask. You need to demonstrate that, and also just don't be afraid to ask. Yeah, like, okay, I think some of my friends are quite shocked. I've asked for increment before, I've asked for promotion before, but make sure you have a good reasons, not because... yeah, so it's like, yeah, your bosses don't know what you're thinking of, so, don't be shy. Yeah.
So from today's discussion, I think the ideas of having fun at work, being creative, not being shy to ask, integrity, ability to step out challenges seem to be very important to become a good leader, entrepreneur today. So moving on, actually I have a few specific questions for our panelists. To VicPearly and Jaslin, you are both successful entrepreneurs who have set up your own businesses. It must have been very time consuming. So how do you manage between your career and family?
So he's talking about work-life balance again. Okay, I think what I try to do is that to spend an equal amount of time. Okay, when you're on your own, right, you're more than willing. I think at least for myself, more than I'm being very passionate. You do not mind actually even working at home because it's your own business. When you do quotation, it's all about trying to get another deal, for example. I think that's the new. Okay, but just a general advice is that basically to have work-life balance. That means you try not to do that because you have your spouse, you have your children at home, so they will also very much like to spend time with you. So what we try to do, in fact, although my kids are quite grown up now, we will still try, if possible, to still chauffeur them to and fro, either school or to the camps. And some people might feel that why are we trying to pamper our kids so much? They should be big and independent enough to be on their own, but I think the bonding part is really very important because as children grow, you will find that they are getting more and more distance from you, and sometimes having to talk to them for that 5 minutes is really like quite a torture to them. So I really think so, yeah, they just can't wait to get out of their room, for example. So by chauffeuring them, for example, that journey, 15 or 20 minutes car ride is really the time when they are in a good mood, they will share more with you about what's happening in the school, what's happening in the camp. But when they are not so good mood, you just have to be the taxi driver, okay? So that is basically it. So, so that's about work-life balance. But another thing is actually being on my own, I think the challenge actually is both challenge and fun. When I work for corporation, I mean, imagine even when you first start joining in a new company, you know that all the things have usually been taken care of. Like for example, your laptop, your email address have been set up, stationaries have been prepared, desks have been arranged properly for you. But for me, 4 years back when I started, everything is really from scratch. And being an entrepreneur, you really must be very, very mindful and cost conscious. So even buying photocopier paper, whether do you buy a 70 or an 80 makes a difference. Getting what printer, double side or whatever, really makes a difference. But so actually I quite like that journey after going through, and then even to the extent of buying coffee, is it capsules, Nespresso, or just 3 in 1, because you also want to try, to make your clients feel comfortable when they are, visiting you at your office. So it comes with a little bit of like being cost conscious, and yet you do not want to look so cheapskate as well, to put it bluntly. And another thing is, after going through the whole journey, while it can be quite fun, I would say, but now that when I think back, if you were to ask me these questions, if you have not made this decision or given an option, would you want to follow the same? I think my answer is I'm really not sure, because it's just like when you do LASIK, for example. If you have not, I'm speaking from experience. I've done LASIK a few years back. I didn't know what to expect, so when I went, everything was okay, successful. But when I look back, I don't think I would dare to try again, because it was quite scary after all. Yeah, so it's actually a mixed feelings, but overall, I think I'm enjoying what I used to do, what I'm currently doing, and I'm still putting quite a fair bit of focus on family as well as business itself.
I think balance, the first thing before you decide to come out on your own and do something, you have to have a very supportive other half. I think that's really, really important. Somebody who understands why you want to do it and what you are probably going to go through it, because there are ups and downs, and then when it's down, you don't want to be alone. And I think that's important, and that's what actually I would like to propose to Yuri as well, that when we have this group that if anyone wants to start on their own, because you read all the stories of all this Facebook, Tesla, everything is success story, but you don't know how bad it is. My brother is a clinical psychologist, and then he tells me all this thing about depression and suicides and all this kind of thing. And if you're not strong enough, I think that's very tough. So like when I first started my business, it takes a lot of time. Like what Jaslin said, I have to basically from zero decision making to deciding every single thing, every single minute of the day. It's like I just want to stop thinking. And I didn't see my dining table for about a few years of my life because it was covered with files, check writer and checks and pencils and everything. And my husband was like, do we have to eat out again? I think so, Yeah, so either that or just move my stuff from left to right. So my husband was really supportive, and he really knew why I wanted to do it. And frankly, for me, the push factor was really high. For me was, I felt that I was in an environment, so I should thank my ex-bosses because they really drove me crazy. You're sitting, I mean, it's like, is there in an MNC, like what June was saying, you see that you can do something better, you can do it much faster, you know that it's the right way to go, but everyone just doesn't want to do it. It's just, let's not do that. Why can't you just stick to it? You're getting the same pay. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. But it drove me crazy, and I knew then that if this is going to drive me crazy, it's going to drive me crazy every day for the rest of my life if I stayed. So I stayed 10 years in the institution, not mental institution, in a hospital, simply because I had to pay off my government bond. Yeah, but after that, I realized I cannot stay one more minute. And frankly, the plus and minuses of being on your own is you get to manage your time. So I can just decide that I want to be there for my daughter's dance rehearsal, I can be there for something else. And it's the work-life balance actually a breeze when you're calling the shots. So I actually really enjoy being on my own.
I've always been with the government for 26 years in HDB, and then they even set up a company for us called Savannah. So I went smoothly into that, and I continued the landscape. So my work-life balance is very good because, you know, I'm having fun at the same time when I'm getting paid. But when I was 60, in fact, when I was in HDB, it was the best of my time because I was like the studio head of landscape. So I decided how many trees for your footpath, how wide the footpath should be, and all these things. So I set standards, like children playground. Do you know that there are lots of safety things that we have to consider? Because last time when we didn't have all these proprietary playground, our pipes were so big, the child can't even hold it, you know. So now you see why we have so many children playground is because I mentioned that when you choose a playground, you must have at least 12 exercise things. My fear is that if the children keep using iPad and forget to go and play, they will miss their motto, you know, and so you must make sure that they exercise, that they still have that creativity, because with energy and ideas and open air and trees and all, you give them a lot more different energy. Of course, the high tech is required, but that would be a different age group. Then, so I felt that through my experiences, I'm able to create better environment for people, and that's what I'm happy about. So I'm still happy doing community work. So be prepared. Take me, I will take you to gardens and parks and things like that. So just put 3 months or 4 months, whatever. Okay? I can also take you overseas because I travel a lot overseas and going to places to speak about Singapore. Why we are a garden city. I speak about art, I speak about conservation building because I'm still an architect. So I really enjoy my life. So when you work, make sure you enjoy life. Like they feel that they should change, they change. Do not be afraid, because now there are lots of video about why we can be successful in different ways. It's not about money. Money is important, but it's not the end. Yeah.
And thank you so much. And for you, Jean, you know, you are worldwide, there are only about 15% of ladies in C-suite positions. And being a lady COO in a male-dominated industry, how does it feel like? Do you experience any gender inequality in your line of work?
Well, I guess generally the trading industry is actually very male-dominated. So, you know, when I was a trader, like certain countries, my traders would tell me, you don't come with us. We don't want you to come with us because we do certain things. It's not convenient for you to come. Or, you know, like I used to go to certain countries. So the girls, the guys, you know, there are certain entertainments that the guys have, they do, and then I'll have the girls will go to drinks, and then the guys, yeah. So I guess there is actually certain inequality because you don't hang out with the guys, you don't really socialize with the guys, and I guess, of course now in the current world, I'll say that because it's so, oil market, you know, is not in the doldrum, right? So it's really just price sensitive. How much you entertain, how much whatever relationship you have, I think it's not as important as in the past. But of course, there are very few female traders in currently. I mean, there are a lot more than when I started, but it's still quite a male-dominated industry. And for me personally, I think it's also very hard to have work-life balance. It's very difficult if you really want to achieve work-life balance because, let's say in trading, the market is actually very quiet in the morning. I remember my parents used to tell me, aren't you going to work yet? Like, because the morning is quiet in Singapore time, so traders can go to work at 10 or after 11. My parents are like, are you going to work yet? I said, no, you know, after a while they got used to it. Yeah, but I guess in the oil industry, the good thing is you can have long lunches, you can start late, but because if you work, you have to talk to London, you have to talk to US, the market really moves at night. And I remember for me, like, I really am happy on Friday 3 AM, that means Saturday 3 AM, the market finally stopped, your P&L finally doesn't move. So for me, I didn't like the day-to-day trading, so I actually became management. So now at least the traders have to do that, but I just watch over them. And I don't like to be an entrepreneur because if you work for business, if you work for company institutions, right, after work, you can actually segregate that. So I quite like that. So it's hard for me to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And then I guess in the C-suite, generally these days, I think there are a lot more females. People also respect females. They give you certain. I think the female side also, yeah. But as I was mentioning to her that day, personally, I don't like to work for female bosses actually. But I'm not a typical female boss. And my direct report, 3 of my reports, like they're actually older than me. So how do you actually manage people who are older than you as well? So you have to really, yeah, just do it and be professional about it.
So is your boss now men?
Yes. Amongst my career, I only had 1 female boss.
And for yourself, Maria, you as a town planner and architect, you plan so many of Singapore's towns, flats and landscapes. I believe you were also one of the early batches of female graduates. So why is it that ladies don't really like to go into this field?
As I say, it's quite unknown years ago. I'm much older. I graduated in 1974. And before me, there were very few, hardly a handful of lady architects. Even the landscape is a new profession. So I would say that you really have to like it. And although we are from a small town, because we have got 2 great architects, one of them, Go Hap-Chow, became the chief planner of URA, which actually settled a lot of your planning in Singapore. The other one was very creative design in like Mandalay Street. Every unit is different. So he won the President Award, which is the topmost of Singapore Designers Award, 2011. So I think with inspiration and also papers, there are people who come up to me and say, oh, my daughter wants to be architect, my daughter wants to be landscape architect. So I mentor students in my hostels, Shears hostels, and also, I'm still very active because I enjoy being active. Partly I'm also single, so I could use my own time and money to do my own things. So I enjoyed myself in this way, and life goes on, whatever the case is. Like today there's a breakdown, why not just accept everything, and be happy because you're the only person can make yourself happy.
Okay. So I believe that now society will be more accepting towards ladies in the various professions already. So what do you think is the way forward to encourage more women in business to take up leadership positions? Is it more of a change of mindset, or is it more of a change in the support system for women leaders? Or is it something probably more operational, such as promoting flexible working hours so that they have more time for their families? What do you think can be done to encourage more women to take up these positions? Jaslin, would you like to make your views?
Okay, so to encourage more women, I think first and foremost the leadership stereotypes have to change. In general, I personally feel that women are equally competent and they are equally committed in terms of working hard for corporations. But it is always, for example, I have experienced before, it is always the top management mindset that has to be changed because like as a chairman of a group of companies, it is still quite normal for them to think that why would they want to consider getting a female CEO or CFO when they feel that there is already somebody, a male, who is already very much eligible. So I think the mindset is not so much of the woman, but it's more of the male who needs to change in that sense. And sorry, what the man? And having said that, I do agree that nowadays the government are also have been very supportive, and not just government but employers have been supportive of coming up with a lot of flexible working hours, to start late or to start early and early so they can bring your child back from childcare and all. So this will actually allows more women to be able to take up more senior positions because it's just I think it's just common that for motherhood, It's the instinct that women still by nature will still want to put a lot of emphasis on children. So if they can actually strike a balance whereby, you know, if I'm given equal amount of time to spend with my family, with my kids, and yet I can deliver a good piece of work, I would still want very much to be able to contribute to the society and then to work in our corporations.
When I was preparing for this and I asked my husband, I said, so, what do you think women leaders? And then he's like, oh, let me Google this. He gave me this quotation. He said, hey, do you know Mao Zedong said women hold up half the sky? You know, and I don't think we women know it. Like I think a lot of women tend to like to depend on men and prefer to not hold the sky, you know, and I think we should kind of step up to it. I completely agree with Jean sometimes that I have worked for male bosses and women bosses in the hospitals, and they're very different. The qualities, the plus qualities of women, the ability to multitask, the ability to empathize, the compassionate part, the very same traits that would actually have made them good leaders. But they do lack a certain few things that the male bosses do, that they don't sweat the small stuff, they make big decisions and they dare to go for it. You know, and I feel that if we could just put these two together, and I think women leaders it's gonna be a lot more to come. Yeah, that's what I feel.
What did your husband say about you joining the panel sessions?
When I asked him, at first I thought it was about gender equality. Then he said, hey, I want to come, I want to complain that it's unequal in my household and in my company. Exactly what you said. Yeah, I was like, I think we had this discussion before. In healthcare, I think there's pretty much balance between males and females. And I think we're very proud to have achieved that. So hopefully for the other industries and oil and stuff like that, we can aim towards that. Yeah. He's not here today.
I think as a lady, I have no differences between men and women because it's up to their ability. But I work very well with my lady boss, and because I was hardworking, so I believe in ability to work hard and show her my work, and she appreciated it. And likewise, the man, new tiger. But unfortunately, I don't have a very good chief architect who discriminate me. But nevertheless, I didn't bother because I did things that he don't agree. I went to study again. He didn't agree. In fact, he told me to go to Japan, and I said, no, Japan 3 months, 1 month study Japanese and things like that. I'm not going to do that. Then when he fell sick, the acting chief architect said, you got a scholarship to Sheffield, I said, how come my boss told me something else? So when I came back, he said, don't practice like me. You see, I do things that I feel that you should write, correct? So you just do it. So that's how I got my master's course, First I got a diploma because 2 years, 9 skip has to be a master's. First year I told my head of department, said, hey, I may not be able to come back because my boss didn't want me to study. But second year, my first scholarship, I got it. I have to face him. They got to see that, So when he said, he said, yeah, your boss is like that, always thinking for himself, but others know. So nevertheless, I always forgave him because life must go on, and I went on and became the head of landscape. So I think that is God given to me because I believe that if you do right and believe in God and thank God and things like that, you will be smooth in your path of life.
Well, I think in my course of work, I always hear the female, I have to bring my daughter, sons to see doctor. I never hear the guys saying the same. So it's actually quite inequality. The mothers are expected to actually contribute a lot more to the family. I'm sure they attest to it. And also, I guess one of the female leaders that I admire from VP, so she said when you have young children, you have to be realistic. So maybe you just do the minimum to make sure you are growing the company. But when your children are older and you are ready to grow, and that's maybe when you're also more mature, you can take on more responsibilities and maybe you can travel more. So I think there's a season of life for different things. And also the other one is, it has actually statistically proven that in a board, with female actually you make good decisions. So with female addition, which is why you see a lot of government trying to advocate more females in the board, because we do provide a different angle, we think differently. I think we have more empathy and we are more understanding, but of course it's back to we can't be too myopic. I mean, female leaders tend to be very particular about a full stop, a comma, you know. So like that, I guess that's where we also need to examine ourselves. And yeah, and I still think that, I may be wrong, but I think most female leaders do have a bit of male traits, because if not, it's very hard to actually survive. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies, for your sharing. So moving to a slightly different topic, could you, many of us have like a role model or mentor that has inspired us. So could you tell us who your role model or mentor, someone that inspired you in your career is? Anyone would like to start?
I don't know if you know Moshe Safdie. Moshe Safdie is a Jewish American architect. He's the one who built your Marina Bay Sands. And why I admire him is because he mentioned one thing, and he was at 36, he was in the Times magazine, front page. And all he said was that each house has a garden. And I know Singapore you can't have a garden, but that is the ideal. All of us has an ideal in life. And each house has a garden is what ideally we want to have. So I admire his work, and he does fantastic work. His habitat in Montreal at the Expo, I went to see it, but I couldn't because it became a private apartment. And he does a lot of work in, now his habitat is in Pisan. May not look the best looking, but it's still one of his philosophy about a unit and a garden. And he also built up Jerusalem and other places. So you can admire his work in the sense that, the Tree Tower, what he did was that the government actually, at the casino, sense I think was not very fair to us. He says that they don't have money, but I think they have. And our government fall into it and rescue them, so that's the difference between our government and the American. They are smarter than us in the world. So what happened there was that he was saying that only Singapore government can make us do 24 hours work, because while it was building, he's still designing, trying to improve it. And he says that he has the largest swimming pool, which is the beauty. And then on top of that, people think it's a boat, but it was a miracle because actually it wasn't like that. Long time ago, they think that it's like the ancestral worship, three towers. Then they put something on top of it, and someone said that it's like the Mandarin Ching, the way. So a lot of money goes into a casino. I mean, these are jokes, correct? Like the durian, the esplanade. So architecture is fun, correct? It's kind of, you create something like Sydney Opera House. You know that it's supposed to be orange. They peel the orange, and then he had that for breakfast, and then he came to the Opera House. And then reflection, all kinds of funny things there. So you want to be different? Be an architect. And be famous as well. I'm not famous yet, but I have a lot of documentation when I was HDB talking about my work. So I have my own fame.
Again, ask my husband, who do I talk about the most female leaders? Then he goes, I don't know, let me Google for you. He said, famous, inspiring leaders, and actually, I realized after he mentioned, I go, no. He said, actually, I felt that I like certain traits in some women leaders. I don't like all of them. So it's very hard for me to actually say who I really admire. When I was young, I really admire Mother Teresa, with many reasons. One of it being she just lived her life and she believed in her own convictions. And whatever she has achieved is just other people, accolades that other people gave her. But if you just do what you like to do, you would achieve something that you like to do. Admire the women politicians, to be honest, to step into the political arena, to take everything that they throw at you. I think it takes a lot. I may not agree with all their policies, but to step up there and say, count me in, I think that's something that I would like to take, walk your talk.
Okay, actually, the women that I have admired the most is actually Mrs. Lee Kuan Yew or Madam Kwa Geok Chu. How I feel about her is that although he's also a lawyer by training, but the way she has been supportive of her husband all these years really inspired me in a sense that she is actually, you know, a lawyer by training, but yet she's willing to sacrifice all this for the families, for the children, and to support her husband all the way through. So I feel that she actually allow her husband to really, you know, not having to worry so much about domestic affairs, and so that because she's there for him as and when she needs it. And I feel that I personally have also tried to play that role in a sense. When my husband actually started his business 20 years ago. Actually, he has also been my role model in a sense, because he has been my inspiring model who has been encouraging me to be out on my own. So how he has done it, I mean, over these 20 years, I must say there has always been ups and downs in every business, especially as a startup business. And I can see how he persevered all the way through. And I remember, you know, when he was struggling in the earlier years, my mother-in-law, we were married then, and my mother-in-law was asking him, why didn't you want to go back to the corporate world and then have a decent income and not having to worry so much about payroll, rental of office and stuff like that. But he was just very determined to go on. And ironically, now that 4 years back when I started on my own, my children start asking me the same questions. Why didn't you want to go back, you know, to the bigger corporations to work? And I didn't want to say anything because I myself don't know how to convince them, because I just started during that time. I'm still very green, and but my husband has been very supportive, you know, giving me a lot of advices here and there along the way. And then, but he was telling my son, you know, like many years back, your grandma has also said the same thing to me. But I don't think we should be looking back the moment we have really made up our mind to start something. I think that is really, I don't call that guiding principle, but that is something that you must really be determined yourself, because once you have started to get out from your comfort zone, there's really no turning back. Because if you turn back and join somebody, it is quite often than not, along the way you decide that, okay, it's enough of corporate world. You still want to come out and try on your own, and then imagine you have really wasted a couple of years, or even as short as 6 months, but you have really wasted the efforts and you want to restart all over again. Yeah.
Well, so I think someone I admire is actually a live person. That means she was actually a VP. So she was the head of Singapore office when I was still quite junior. And why I admire her, so there were quite a few things. So she actually initiated the early exchange. So in those days, I think nowadays it's quite common to go overseas. In those days, it was not. It was quite rare. So she initiated this early exchange. I did a job swap with someone in London. So the London person came to Singapore, I went to London, and we were so junior that, you know, at the expatriate package don't even have our level, because we were still very junior then. So that's one of the things. And also, you know, even though she was quite senior, she bothered to email and check how we are, how I am, and so I was quite touched by that. But also, what I see in her career, right? So even though she was a very busy lady climbing up the ladder, she actually adopted 2 children, Russian children, apart from the 2 that she has. So it's quite amazing that she actually still has time and she has the heart. And also, of course, I followed her career along the way. And you know, she retired. So last year, before she retired, I was in London, so I managed to see her. I mean, we don't really cross paths because she was still very senior VP. As she goes higher, we're quite far apart. But you know, every time I email her, she still responds. And then before she retired, I was talking to her. So she was saying, I was asking her what she planned to do after retirement. So she gave 2 advice. So if any of you are thinking of retirement, think about it. So one of the things she said, she had invitation to go back to the board, to be the board directors of some of the current board directors that she's in. And it's very tempting. But she said no, she decided that she would just have a complete break and just really rest and relax. And then you can decide a year later whether you want to assume some of the responsibilities. I've seen some people, they find it very hard to let go. So I really admire that. And then the other one, she said, I have 2 small other business for me to run. So after I came out, I was telling people, see, even at her level, she plans for retirement. Like, she has 2 businesses that she knows that when she retires, she will actually work. So, I mean, realistic thing is, career is very short in this life. So, I mean, you know, maybe if you are in the MNCs, I would say your career is maybe till mid-40s or early 50s if you're very senior. But, so you really need to have something to plan. So I thought that was quite quite admirable. But of course, one of the things why she was so successful, she had a very understanding husband. So her husband gave up his career for her. So her husband was like a consultant or freelance. So wherever she goes, if he can get a job, he gets a job. If not, he's the caretaker of the family. So it's quite hard for the spouse, both people, to have a very good career. You can have that, but your children and family life will suffer.
Thank you. So before we take a couple of questions from the floor, we had some discussions about advice for retirement. So maybe we can now talk about some advice for young and aspiring female leaders. So what our panelists think could be, how can they emulate your successes?
So one of the things that I'm always interested is, do you want to be a manager or do you want to be a leader? You can go and Google it. Being a manager is actually very different from being a leader. Also, a lot of people are very good at their work, but doesn't mean that you'll be good leaders or good managers. So you have to know yourself, because there are a lot of people who did very well in their job, got promoted, managed people, or become leader, and they absolutely hated it, got depressed or whatever. So you really need to know yourself, what you like. And I think when you are younger, do try as many things as possible and experience different things, and then you will know what you will like. And yeah, and I think it's back to the thing out of the box. Don't, I think your family or sometimes friends have certain expectations of you, but ultimately it's your life, so you should just do what you think is best.
I think we have to think about relationship. Actually, I just retired in January, but I'm still very, very busy, and I travel, I speak, and get to know people, and connect with people, and creating connection from this ASEAN country with the European and whatever they want to have an organization. So my time is not really for myself, because I think by doing that, I'm enjoying myself. So indirectly, I also will be happy doing it. And that's what I like most, is the connection with people and help the local as well. Also think at the same time globally.
I often think of lying on the beach and retiring. But to be frank, I don't see myself retiring, and I'm getting this inspiration from the doctor. The Japanese doctor is 105 years old. He never retires. He says there's 2 secrets: walk the staircase and carry your own bag. I go, okay, it sticks in my head, walk the staircase and carry my own bag. Very sad. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I like what he's saying, because I understand that he enjoys his work, and it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. And I think that's what everyone needs to look at. Can you do what you're doing right now for the next 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years? If you can't, then start the ball rolling while you're all still really young. Yeah, rather than you wait till you're 50 and you're trying to set up something, then your cost of failure becomes a little bit higher. Your number of dependents become a little bit more.
For those who are aspiring to start on their own, start up a business, my advice actually would be, do not think too much. Because once you start thinking about, to start a business, of course it carries with it a risk. You can foresee that you're not going to have a salary for at least the first 6 months and stuff like that. But when you start thinking about all this negative effect about coming out on your own, the result would be you will never come out. So that will be my first advice to those who aspire to be starting a simple business, or whether is it a small cafe or an F&B business. Another thing is that life is full of ups and downs. So another advice I would give is actually for all of us to try to mix and talk with people who have more positive attitude and positive minded, and try not to mix with people who are always have a lot of sad stories to tell. It's not a matter of being selfish. Of course, you may have your friends or close relatives who has got sad things to confide. Of course, you are there to lend them your listening ear. But in a sense that when you try to mix with more cheerful people, that will actually lift up the mood, and it's really very contagious in that sense. And then another thing would be actually to spend a little bit of time networking, especially when you want to start that's why I was telling Bing, and I think even Margaret, ever since I started my own, they see more of me in MBS because of a lot of potential for networking and a lot of events. So it's really true that you need to network, but network with positive people.
So yeah, I'd like to just really add 2 points. So firstly, especially when you're earlier on in your career, that's actually where you form friendships. These are the friendships. Take time to form really deep friendships because these are the people that's going to carry you in your outer life. I mean, leader is actually quite lonely. You cannot just anyhow ask people to go for coffee. I mean, they're your subordinate. I mean, you still have to be conscious about the, the level where you are. You can't like, yeah. So but when you're junior in your career and it's not so political, this is actually where you guys should actually be really form the close relationship and support each other throughout. And then the other one, a bit of free advertisement for being consider doing an MBA.
Exactly. I was waiting.
Yeah, I think it's useful. You meet, because if you're in the same field, you always meet the same people. You don't really mix. Even like today, like I mean, very different, industry. You get to hear people's different stories. It inspires you, and ultimately, the world is quite competitive. You should continue to upgrade yourself and just learn. Yeah.
Okay, Nino.
Okay. She didn't pay me to say this.
That's why she's giving you a
Okay, thank you so much, ladies, for your insightful sharing. I think we still have a little bit of time. We'd like to open the session to the floor if anyone has either a general question or a specific question to a particular panelist. Please feel free.
Hi, my name is Jaslin. So basically, I'm an entrepreneur myself as well. I meet a lot. These days, I get to meet a lot of ladies entrepreneurs as well. They share some of the issues that I'm able to help them. So things like, they say, as a lady entrepreneur, sometimes I face issues when I first start up, my first 10 customers, how do I really get there? I may be able to get my first one or my second one due to friends or personal connection, but how do I get more clientele in a way? So they say that usually when people meet some of the people, when they meet ladies entrepreneurs, they will just like, forget it, we are not going to deal with them. So when they are starting out, how do they get their maybe first 10 clientele?
Maybe I tell you from my experience. Okay, maybe as a rule of thumb, I personally feel that to get customers, okay, first of all, you must go for networking, okay? So when in any networking, you do not want to scare off any of the people, the new friends that you meet. So there will be a hello and an exchange of cards, for example. Just try to engage into conversations with this new person that you have met up. Try to understand what this person is doing and also find some chance to also share with the person what you are also offering as a service. And that's it, okay? So allow yourself that, I always feel that you must give yourself at least, you must meet this person again in any other occasions, at least the second and the third time. Then you start to engage into a more, serious discussion about where you think you can service this person, how you can help this person in the business and stuff like that. Yeah. So cannot afford to be too pushy. People will get scared. I don't know whether I answer your question.
Yeah, because the guy's way and the lady's way of doing it sometimes might be a bit different. So the way I handle people versus a traditional person. So that's why I asked maybe if you have an alternate view on how to get this kind of thing instead of using the guy's way to do it.
So what is the guy's way?
Usually, the guy's way is either go for beer after, or maybe because guys we are a bit more straightforward with one another. So we just go for coffee and stuff immediately after that. So I'm not sure. Yeah, when some of the entrepreneurs, especially female, when they share with me, because we share like entrepreneurs, if we don't have another half, we are actually very lonely people. so things that you trap inside, you cannot be telling your friends or your family, because if they are not entrepreneurs, they won't understand. So that's why when we entrepreneurs share within our own network, we'll be like, okay, I don't have a solution, but let me find out and I'll share with you if I get a solution.
I think on my part is, after you finish reading a marketing textbook and you do whatever you need to do, I feel that what works for me is that how to get the next 10 customers, you work really hard on that first customer. So frankly, all my patients or customers come from the first customers. So if you do a job so well, that person has just has to advertise for you. Because the word of mouth is such a powerful tool, because your first customer is putting his reputation on the line for you, and the second customer and the third customer. And by the time the 10th, 100th customer come to you, the deal is done. You're just there, you just have to do it. And I think that no matter how long it takes to build that trust, integrity, credibility, take that time. And I think in women, we're a little bit more, we're more particular. So if we do this, we'll follow up, we'll ask you, and everything, just to kind of give you that whole satisfaction, the after sales, and to make sure that we still care for you. I mean, we're very sensitive. We want people to know that we care. Yeah. So I think in a way, if you're a male entrepreneur and you exhibit that, it is many plus points for you, because I think your customers won't expect it. Yeah.
I think entrepreneurship, there are too many types, and I go to almost a lot of networking, whether it's a business or entrepreneur, although I don't need the business. I just go there for getting to know people, so I've got lots of cards, and you start to analyze, who do you want to know? And the important thing is that sometimes the person just click, and you know that if you want to do something, you talk to the person first, get to know the person. You cannot sort of like, we are most fearful of real estate and insurance. And some of them, they decide that they put the price very high, so only exclusive people who has the interest will come. There are many networking groups, and Meetup is one of them. Even just vegetarian, we can meet up with vegetarian, and they are business people. So don't close your mind that only entrepreneur meet entrepreneur, because they may be competitors. So you may look at other things, other groups. So look at Meetup, there are lots of Meetup.
Kristen, it's just trivial, right? Last night I was Googling something for my daughter for homework, and homework. But I found out that there are actually more than 20 world leaders, as in whether you're prime minister or president, there are about 20 women right up there. There's current, right? So I thought, and the countries are like San Marino, Luxembourg, different countries. So I was just thinking, what's the difference? Because it's 10% of the entire world's number of countries, about 200. What is the difference between this 10% versus the other 90%? Some thoughts. Maybe Vic, if you can, there are some thoughts. What do you think could be a
women leaders?
Yeah.
Political. Yeah, I think it's the appetite of the women in the country. Yeah, if maybe we're all very comfortable, we're not oppressed, we don't need to fight for gender equality. There's no real issue for us to bring. If the men in our country maybe compliments you guys, oppressive, put us down all the time, then you will see a woman leader coming out. I think for us, we're quite comfortable. We've been treated very fairly in this country. I'm not sure what it speaks for a different country. Maybe look at the country, the women leaders in that country, and then you look at how the women are being treated. I realize it could be a certain social issue that prompts them up to be a leader, to fight for certain issues that they feel very strongly about. I think for women, we have a very high tolerance. We can tolerate a lot of things. But when you push us beyond that point, that's when I think we really have to step up. And maybe that's the reason. I'm not sure.
Any thoughts? You think?
There's a lot more issue, because there's among the women group, they always talk about we should elevate the woman up. But I think to be fair, it is whether the person is able to reach that position through their own merit, as well as the supporting the former leaders, they bring up the woman if they see the potential in them. I think these are important working relationship within the company. So I think everybody should start, if you are in a corporate company, work well with your, whether they're junior or senior, work well with them because it's important.
I sort of brought it up because, I do a bit of work with UNIFEM and UN Women, and I help with the NGOs, and particularly with women groups, and And yeah, to be really honest with you, from what I've seen with Cambodia, with Thailand, Singapore is really right up there. Singapore is really, really right up there. So sometimes I really wonder what's the difference between, you know, and I think part of the problem is not just men. Part of the problem, I realize, is also women. I'm not kidding, women putting, you know, because you've gone through, like, for example, gender mutilation and all this. These are all done by women from their own. So like I said, I think there's a lot of changes that need to be made. Just a comment, so not a particular question.
I have to say this, I'm not sure I could agree with you about
Right.
Singaporean women being right up there. I don't
relative.
think we have enough women representation at
I agree.
the top, right?
Alima is
Even
coming.
from the government and to all that. So I personally cannot say that I could agree with that statement. But having said, I think, you know, I used to work in a lot of MNCs, and I noticed that in a lot of these MNCs, right, you can have very capable women, and of course the capable men, and but a lot of times you end up finding that it's not just about capability, right? It's about their ability to rise above everybody else, right? And in some regard, I think men tend to do that with a lot more, how do I say, it's instinctive. You know, they will, I'm not saying every man do that, they will backstab, they will boast about themselves, they will inflate their worth to get themselves higher, and maybe women tend to be a bit more, I don't want to join that kind of thing, so to speak. I'm not sure if that's across in a lot of industry, but certainly it was in the finance industry where I used to work at. So I don't know if we women have a comment about whether should we women join that kind of game the men may have played, or we should just be comfortable with what we are.
Like I said, I think you need the appetite for it. Yeah. If it's something you want to do, and I'm sure we can do it. Yeah.
We have time for one more question, if anybody has anything else to ask. No? If not, let's give another round of applause to our